they had to reload everything. Are we the only ones on it so far, or?
No, we're nearing a quorum, and then some of our presenters are on with us. Yep.
Good evening, all.
Evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Mac?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Feel like it's been a long time since we got together.
Yeah, I think I missed the last one.
Right.
So for trustees and guests, we're coming up. We got Mary Kate as chair coming in right now, so that gets us to quorum. I think we are expecting a few other folks, and we do have all of our presenters, it looks like. So if you just hang in there for probably another minute or two more, we're in good shape, everybody, for tonight.
Annette, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
great.
I can
Thank
hear
you.
you.
Technical problems here.
Mhm. Jenny is joining.
There you go, Madam Chair. We can see you now too, Mary Kate.
Yep.
Hold on, I'm not hearing you guys.
Just doing a sound check, Mary Kate. I don't know if you can hear us now. Okay. All right, everybody, hang tight.
Nanette, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good grief, Charlie Brown.
You can hear us now?
I can hear you, yes.
Great.
Great.
We've got a quorum, Madam Chair. We have our presenters. So at your pleasure, we have all the fundamentals for what we need for tonight's meeting.
Great. Sorry, everyone. Technical issues, of course, right? Happy Monday. Call to order the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustee regular meeting of Monday, June 27th, 2022. Nanette, would you please call the roll?
Mary Kate Mirren,
Present.
Janae McDonald,
Present.
Elizabeth Posito,
Present.
Monique Seldom Riley,
Present.
Maurice Lindsay,
Present.
Samalid Hogan, Bill Johnson,
Present.
Norm Roland,
Present.
Jeff Sattler,
Present.
and Max Starks.
Present.
Thank you.
Great, everyone. Thank you. I hope my fan doesn't make everyone dizzy. We're just getting a horrible rainstorm out here. It's really hot. Thank you, everyone, for joining on this Monday. I'd like to take this opportunity to turn it over to Dr. Eduardo Marti. He, as you know, has been our consulting working with the community college, and he's going to talk about shared governance and his final report. So Dr. Marti, I'll turn it right over to you.
Before we do it, Eduardo, Mayor Kay, if we could just do minutes from last meeting real quick.
Good grief. Yes. Keeping me honest, Dr. Cook, I appreciate that. Do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes of our trustee meeting of May 23rd, 2022?
Madam Chair, so move.
Second.
Great. Discussion. Hearing none, and would you please call the roll to approve the minutes of the trustee meeting of May 23rd, 2022?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Elizabeth Esposito,
Yes.
Monique Seldom Riley,
Yes.
Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Samalid Hogan, Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Roldan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, very good. We'll restart again. So Dr. Marti, let me turn it over to you to go through your model and all of the great work we've done as we've worked together with the community college, the trustees, faculty, and staff and students. So let me turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. This is a bittersweet moment for me because I have really enjoyed working with you, all of you. There are some individuals that I need to single. Nanette Flores, who has been absolutely outstanding and helping me do all of the things that need to be done in order to make me look good in front of all of you. So thank you, Nanette, for your work.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you, all of you, for being so open and interested in ensuring that the report really reflects what could be and should be a path forward for the college. I think it might be interesting for us to really go through the process that we used in order to arrive at this moment in time. So, Annette, if you could put the next slide. Clearly, the reason that we had to go through this process was because, as you very well know, at the last visit of the New England Association, the commission provided a letter of concern indicating that the college appeared not to be meeting all the standards, all the items of standard 3. And therefore, they put the college in notice and notice of concern, not the notice of anything else. It was a letter of concern and indicating that they would be coming back in the spring of 2023 in order to see how the college has responded to this letter of concern. You very astutely decided that it would be interesting or appropriate to hire an outside consultant so that all the parties would feel comfortable with the process that it was used. And I think the most important thing that we need to talk about today, other than the model itself, is how we got to the model, because it is important that everybody is aware of what was done in order to respond in a serious manner to the concerns that were expressed by the association. And then if you can put the next slide, please. we need to look at the standard and realize that what they are looking for was a clarification of the responsibilities and the relationships among the governing board, administration, faculty, and staff. That really was there, but it was not as clear as they wanted it to be. They also talked about having a decision-making process with policies that are clear and consistent, and that the institutional governance, the shared governance process, involves the participation of all appropriate constituencies. Obviously, when the team came, they got some indication that there was no clear transparency and there was no structure to the communication process that was needed in order to have an appropriate shared governance model that then would satisfy standard 3. And finally, they looked at the fact that the policy, the expertise and responsibilities of the individual groups had to be clearly defined in order to be able to have a timely and appropriate response to institutional plans, policies, curricular change, and so forth. So what I did was the following. And as you very well know, because you all participated in this, I spoke with every one of the trustees. I spoke with every one of the leaders of the campus community, meaning the leaders of the AUC, the student government, the 2 unions, and administration, of course. And after that exhaustive, and really was exhaustive discussion, because we had about an hour for each one of those conversations. After that, it became very clear to me that what was needed was some sort of group that was representative of all of the constituencies that could come together and not only discuss openly what the concerns were, but also provide some suggestions as to how the governance model could be improved. That committee, we call it the governing workings group, or the working governance group. And we met 6 times. And in between, obviously, there were subcommittees and there were proposals being made and discussions taking place. But the 6 formal meetings took place. And as a result of that, I gathered enough information to come forth and present a model to that group that synthesized all of the concerns and all of the solutions that were suggested. And once we had that model, I discussed it with the committee, and then I revised it a little bit, and then that model was sent out to the entire college community. Everyone in the campus received a copy of that. We gave about 10 days of a window of about 10 days for people to make comments. We received 35 comments, mostly basically repeating what had been said before, but there was nothing really substantial in terms of the model. So I took that to mean that the campus community was generally satisfied with what we are talking about today. So what is it that we're talking about today? Then next slide, please. I just went through all of this. Next one. All right. What the model, what I find is that everybody needs to do some work. I think the trustees need to agree that you need to look at your bylaws, and you look at your committee structure. And I am recommending that you use the summer and use the retreat in September to address these issues. But importantly, by accepting this model, you are going to be clarifying something that has been muddled for a long time at the college, and that is the existence of the all-unit Congress. The all-unit Congress will be part of the shared governance council. It will not be the only governance structure of the campus. What I am suggesting is that we have a body that represents all of the campus constituencies. Has the AUC, has the unions, has the students, and has administration. This would be an advisory, a high-level advisory body that receives recommendations from the entire campus community. The recommendations are then presented to the president, and the president and his cabinet decide whether the recommendations need to be modified, accepted, or in fact sent back to the committees for further study or further discussions. Once that advice is provided for the president, and this is very important because we need to establish this very clearly, the president is the agent of the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees is the only governing structure of the college. The Board of Trustees is the one that makes the recommendation, accepts the recommendations of every other body within the campus and decides whether a policy comes into effect or not, whether a procedure is acceptable or not, and that goes along with the recommendation of the president. Nanette, can you put the next slide, please? All right. The issue of the all-unit Congress is a very important one, and I think we need to address it and address it head on. It is clear that the AUC is a body unto itself, and the AUC needs to look at itself just the same way that the Board of Trustees needs to look at itself, and the AUC needs to look at certain areas. My recommendations to the AUC is that, first of all, it makes it very clear that all Stcc employees are included in the AUC with the exception of the senior administrators. Second, that the assembly is too large a body to be involved in voting on every recommendation. So therefore, the representation has to go to the standing committees. So the standing committees of the AUC will then present their findings to the assembly, but not for a vote, but for clarification and for comment. If the comments are positive, then of course, the standing committee makes its recommendation to the Shared Governance Council. If not, then the further work is done. But the voting bodies of the AUC are the representative standing committees. Within those standing committees, senior administrators will be part of that committee as ex officio non-voting, as there will be union representation in those committees, again, ex officio non-voting. So the only people who will be voting on the standing committees are the members of the AUC and students as appropriate. If they are not invited, if they are members of the standing committee, they would have a vote. But senior administration will just be facilitating the process. Union representation will be observing the process and making certain there's fidelity with the collective bargaining agreement. So those are recommendations to the AUC. It is my understanding that the recommendations have been positively received and that they will be voted upon by their membership in the September meeting. But be that as it may, whatever they end up deciding, This is a body that makes its recommendations to the Shared Governance Council. So what I am asking you to vote on today, and then next slide, please. What I'm asking you to vote on today is the model, and the model really, the only thing that is new in the model is the yellow square in the middle, that Shared Governance Council. By you creating this Shared Governance Council that has, again, representations from the AUC, from the two unions, from the students, and obviously from the cabinet and the president, that Shared Governance Council will satisfy, in my opinion, the concerns of NESHI, because everybody's at that table. Everybody has a say. And if you go to the next slide, maybe we can go through the process on that. Everybody has a way of impacting whatever proposal comes to the body. I think the best way to describe this for your edification is to look at sort of like an example of what would happen. So if you look at this particular slide, let us assume that you have a proposal that comes to the SUC from, let's say, the student government. The proposal then goes to the SGC, the Shared Governance Council. At that point, everybody looks at it. The AUC looks at it, the unions look at it, and the president looks at it, and the cabinet looks at it. If suddenly the proposal is one that the AUC says, oh, no, wait a second, this is impinging upon student life, and I think the Student Life Committee of the AUC needs to look at it, at that point, the proposal is pushed over to the AUC and for the Student Life Committee of the AUC to review it. Eventually, that proposal comes back to the Shared Governance Council, and at that point, hopefully by that time, every concern has been satisfied, and it goes up to the president, and from the president, it goes to you as trustees for consideration. Again, I need to emphasize as loudly and as clearly as I can, the person who makes recommendations to the Board of Trustees is the president and only the president. Everything else goes through the president. So the Board of Trustees hires the president to manage the institution, and therefore the Board of Trustees has an agent. By that I mean the Board of Trustees by law is the body that is responsible for the operation of the institution. The Board of Trustees is a body that is responsible for the fiscal health of the institution. The Board of Trustees is responsible for all the personnel matters within the campus. Now, you have delegated that to your president, but you're still responsible for that. So it is important that the college community understands that there should be absolutely no question about the authority and jurisdiction of the Board of Trustees. And concomitantly, there shouldn't be any question about the authority and responsibility of the agent of the Board of Trustees, which is the president of the institution. Now, shared governance means just that, it means shared governance. You have decided, and you can decide, to share the way in which the decision-making process takes place by creating different bodies. There was a comment, and I don't believe that it is appropriate, and I don't believe it is even legal, but there was a comment along the way that the Board of Trustees didn't have the authority to vote on shared governance structures. That is absolutely wrong. The Board of Trustees has every possible authority to do that, because the Board of Trustees, again, I repeat, is the governing structure of the institution. Shared governance.
Yeah, Dr. Marti, may I just interrupt? There's been just so much information. I just want to pause for a moment to see
okay,
if
good.
there is questions first from the trustees on Dr. Marti's presentation, because I know we got this in advance and the report. I just want to, there's been so much information. I just wanted to pause for a moment and open it up to trustees for questions or comments.
Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, this is Bill Johnson. I think my question that I had was just answered with the last slide we're looking at. It looks like the president is the one that presides over the SGC, the new committee. So he's, I guess, the de facto chairperson of that committee. And the president would be the one calling the meetings of this new committee to bring in all the other factions. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct, Bill. And the other important thing is that the president is a convener of this group, because the group will not vote. The group is a consensus group.
Correct.
Right.
So, all right.
So-
So then there's no need for a vice chairman. There's no need for a secretary.
No,
That was my question. So that, like I said, this last slide answers my questions that I had. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
I have a quick question, Madam Chair. In the process, what would be a sample timeline when something comes forth, a proposal may come to the SGC? And then are we talking, this could take a couple of months? Is this over 6 weeks, 8 weeks, as things go through the line and get up to the president who proposes it to the trustees?
the wheels of the academy move slowly, as you very well know. I would say that proposals that are coming to the SGC would probably be 2 semesters at a time, so that but that can be addressed, because one of the things that I would recommend to you and to the president is to have what I used to call an administrative agenda that I would present to let's say the SGC in September or October, and these are the things that I would like to see done this year, and then they would then decide whether they want to take it up or not. But I say an academic year is about the right time for any shared governance process to go through. Now, if there's a crisis situation, that's a different story. If it's a crisis situation, the president can call this group together and say, we have a real problem, and I need your help, and we need to go through it. But in a normal process, curricular changes, new programs, things of that type, facilities, that can go through the year process.
Yeah, I think Betty, Dr. Marti is making a comment, given the new model. I think that's what we figure out as participants in the shared governance and the acceptance of the shared governance council. So that's something we would definitely work on.
Okay.
It's going to be something that we should track and even evaluate the processes as we move forward. Hard to say, but really, it's a really good point and a good comment. And then that's something we'd work through, depending on the urgency of the request that comes through the council.
Okay.
I can help with this one too. I think this is a really important point to be sure we're clarified on, because it will seem like things take longer than frankly we want them to. Again, I'll come back to my very fundamental example, everyone. STCC is not a smoke-free campus. Is not. And I think that surprises many in this day and age. In order to put that in front of you trustees as the policy board to ultimately vote to become smoke-free, will take time. It will take diligence. It will take a lot of work administratively from us to assess the landscape with employees and students. By the way, if we actually did go smoke-free, we would need to notify our 2 unions of a change in work conditions. So that's a good example to realize how long things may take from a policy standpoint. That's to contrast against operations that you have delegated to your president. Again, the running of the college day in and day out, we sometimes have and in the past misconstrued as sort of policy. And even again, as pointed out, under exigent circumstances of crisis, we don't want to navigate COVID and a pandemic through a committee or otherwise. You have delegated authority that will very much address those kinds of needs and circumstances. So again, we will work to be clear all the way through around what this will, and again, it's essentially an opportunity for our stakeholders to make recommendations. That's the flow, if you will, that comes up and through administration to you as trustees. But we as administrators will absolutely help ensure that the college continues to work.
Great, thank you, Dr. Cook. Additional questions from trustees?
Yeah, I just had one question. This is Trustee Stark. So just in terms of documentation, right? So when ideas are presented to the president, is there any record or expectation that that there's documentation that will be maintained for a period of time?
That's what we have now in this model, which we didn't necessarily have before, is the obligation, if you will, is on the president to ensure minutes, by the way, agenda building and otherwise. So there will be a very clear record now going forward of that.
I think that
Thank
would be, that will go a long way to engendering trust within the campus.
I mean, at this time, I would really like to thank Trustee McDonald and Trustee Lindsay, who participated as the liaisons of the entire board. The both of you were on many calls, many meetings. So I am very thankful and appreciative of all the hard work that you did, and your input and feedback doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much, Trustee McDonald, Trustee Lindsay. Really do appreciate both of you. And if there are no other questions, do I hear a motion about 2022-14 endorsement of STIC shared governance model? Someone like,
Madam Chair, I make motion.
you need to read that for me, please, Trustee? Page 61.
Sorry.
That's okay.
There we go.
Oh, I can't see on my monitor. That's too small. I'm sorry. Can somebody else read it? I'm sorry. I apologize.
I can read it.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald.
Thank
So the
you.
motion reads that the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees, in accordance with the policymaking and statutory responsibilities, accepts the report and recommendations from the ACCT consultant and hereby establishes a shared governance council. Whereas an element of this endorsement and formalization of a governance model is to address an accreditation matter via the New England Commission of Higher Education, NECHI, specific to governance, be it resolved that the following clarifies roles and responsibilities. A shared governance council is hereby formalized and serves as the structure that ensures advisory input from college stakeholders through a consensus model, and does so by providing recommendations to the SCCC president. Recommendations are high level regarding institutional policies, planning and operations in support of the SCCC mission, and the SGC will serve as a conduit that ensures college-wide feedback. As outlined in a set of ACCT consultant recommendations, trustees further establish that the Shared Governance Council will include representatives from the following constituencies: Student Government Association, AFSCME, MCCC, All Unit Congress, Cabinet, Senior Administrators. The SCCC president serves as ex officio and convener of the SGC. The SCCC president presents SGC consensus form recommendations to trustees utilizing an outlook framed by NECHI.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Additional discussion? Hearing none, Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept the endorsement of STCC Shared Governance Model Motion 2022-14?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Elizabeth Bosito,
Yes. Yes.
Monique Seldom Riley,
Yes.
Maurice Lindsay,
yes,
Samalid Hogan, Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Roldan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Dr. Marti, again, thank you for all of your hard work. Very appreciative of the hard work and where you got us. And also to the entire board. We remember we wanted to get this. It was so important for us after hearing from NECHI and when we were in front of NECHI to work on this. There's other things NECHI will ask us to do. I'll talk to those and speak to those a little bit more in my chair report. So with that, I think I'm going to be Dr. Marti, thank you again.
Thank you so much for everything. And good
Appreciate
luck.
it. All right, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna turn it over to Dr. Butler. We're going to go right into strategic planning, our outlook and update, unless you're going to kind of kick that off, Dr. Cook.
So just real briefly, again, we have our Strategic Planning Task Force co-chairs. Professor Eileen Cusick is with us tonight, as well as Dr. Butler. Again, we continue the work at earnest. We have a wonderful and robust task force that will be pushing that boulder up the hill over the summer as well. But let me turn it over to Shay and Eileen for introductions of our ACC, our Campus Works consulting team. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Also joining us today is Dan Saduka, who is our communications lead on the task force. So thanks, Dan, for joining us. My task is simple: to introduce our Campus Works partners who will talk a little bit about where we're at in the process. And so without further ado, I'll begin with our lead, who is Javon Brain. Sorry, Javon, for ruining your last name there. Samantha Kessler and Kevin David. So Javon, please take it away.
Absolutely. Good evening, all. It's so wonderful to be back with you today. I am going to go through a brief agenda with you all just to provide you with some updates on where we are and where we're going with our strategic planning process. We can go to the next slide there. And if it helps, I can share too, Lynette.
Yeah, I think we want to move to the next slide, please.
Okay, so I'm going to do some, or allow my colleagues to do some introductions today. We'll review kind of an overview of our strategic planning approach. We'll also look at our timeline, next steps, and have an opportunity for you all to ask any questions you may have, as I know you've been able to review these slides as they were shared with you in advance. So as we begin, we'll go to the next slide and I'll let my colleagues, both Kevin and Samantha, introduce themselves. Let's start with Kevin.
Great. Thank you, Javon. And late afternoon to everyone. We are thrilled and honored to be here with you all. And I'm really excited to be able to be with you on this journey of strategic planning, which is really what transforms institutions. And so we are really excited. I've been here. My name is Kevin David. I've been at Campus Works for 4 years and that whole time I've overseen our strategic planning practice, and I've actually led the development of strategic plans pretty close to you all. Recently, I helped Holyoke Community College refresh their strategic plan plan. And just a year or two ago, we wrapped up with Bristol Community College as well. So very familiar with the DHE and just Massachusetts and NETCHE and all the requirements. So I was having some kind of flashbacks when I heard Dr. Marty talking about, all of the accreditation standards and all that. And so sounds like you've got some really good hard work ahead of you that's going to really help you go from good to great. We are, Javon and Samantha, who you'll meet in just a minute, are going to be leading most of the planning activities, but I will be here as a strategic thought partner for President Cook, for the whole college, for the planning leads, and of course, for my Campus Works colleagues throughout the engagement. My background is before I came to Campus Works, I was provost at Tulsa Community College in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I still live. And prior to that, I was an associate vice president for institutional effectiveness and was over strategic planning, regional accreditation, institutional research, and all those fun things. And I was also, prior to that, a director of planning and institutional research, which is really where I dove into strategic planning for the first time in my career. And in a previous life, as I like to say, I was a full-time professor at 2 universities, and my PhD is in developmental psychology. So I used to study about social and emotional development throughout childhood and adolescence, and I'm still fascinated by how people tick. And I find I get to use that background every day in this work that we do with higher ed institutions, and I love it. So I'm really excited to be here, and just want to thank you all for your trust in Campus Works. I'll turn it to Samantha.
Thanks, Kevin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Kessler, and I'll be assisting with this strategic plan. My background, much like Kevin, is institutional research and effectiveness. And before joining Campus Works, I spent a little over a decade in community colleges all across the country as an IR professional, and working my way up to a director of institutional research and effectiveness at a few different colleges. So I started in the New Jersey community college system, and then I moved to California and spent most of my career in the California community college system, and then a little bit in the North Carolina community college system before I joined Campus Works full time. I was also a faculty member at a couple of those colleges as well, teaching sociology courses online and in person, and a little bit of first year experience courses as well. So I have led strategic planning efforts at a few of those colleges in California. I've led and supported core teams for strategic enrollment management plans. And I've actually, this kind of brought back memories. I led efforts to redesign shared governance structures as well. So I'm really familiar with that work. It kind of excites me as well. So I'm really happy to join you and support you in any way I can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin and Samantha. We're really excited to have them joining our team. We think that it's going to lead to some great outcomes for you all's planning process. And along with Samantha, I was having some shared governance flashbacks as well from my time at Community College of Denver. So we'll keep moving forward, and I will share some pieces about our process with you here. So our process or our approach really centers is an inclusive and transparent process. We involve as many folks on the campus as we can at different moments to collect feedback. We believe in open minds. Equity mindedness is really important to us. And we know that the Massachusetts Department of Higher Ed has released some pieces that we're going to make sure that we're incorporating in your planning process as well. We try to have our processes be data informed, and of course, innovation and excellence are the things that really continue to move our institutions forward. So how are we implementing those innovative practices or incorporating those innovative practices that are going to keep moving Springfield Tech forward? Our framework begins with the mission. We understand that the mission really reflects the purpose and reason for being in terms of the institution. So we really try to center that mission as a foundational point as we take off into the process. All of our deliverables are designed to help STIC fulfill its mission. And so we try to be really intentional there. We then move into the student experience. We have what's called a Defining the Student Experience workshop. And we start with centering students and having the vision for an ideal, what the ideal student experience should be. And we have a statement that we construct during that process that we revisit and kind of helps guide us through the process. From that student experience statement, we move into high-level strategies and what we call our strategic goals and objectives for you all that really help define the strategic directions and where we're going. And we've had some really important conversations with your team so far and with President Cook, and we plan to make sure those pieces are incorporated. Our vision statement really reflects the ambitious goals that we have for the future of STIC and the students and stakeholders. And of course, you know, our values are the shared beliefs that really drive the culture and set the tone for the direction that the institution will move. And so we'll make sure to affirm the values of the college so that everyone can get on the same page in moving where we need to go. Okay, so these are some of those stakeholders that we talk about in terms of, you know, the planning process. We work very closely with executive leadership. We'll be working very closely with you as we're here today and make sure that we're providing updates for you throughout. We worked very closely with the Strategic Planning Task Force. And then of course, collecting that feedback throughout the process from all stakeholder groups. There's the community piece is also a piece that's really important that we're going to be calling out and getting feedback from in this process as well. So here are some of the key planning events that we have in place, and we've kind of put some dates here for you to recognize. As we go September through May, we start with our trends and student experience workshop. We move into some of our surveys and reaffirming our mission, vision, and vision. We go into our future summit and subgroup research presentations, which your task force has already started their research. We go into the values and strategic goal workshops and start collecting feedback on the plan and getting to some of those objectives and planning more detailed portions of the plan before we then present that refreshed strategic plan for your review in May of 2023. And then begin implementing in August. So as we look at our next steps, you know, coming up in September, we'll have our Trends in Higher Education presentation. We'll have our SWOT survey and our student experience workshop. And then we'll also have some of those focus groups moving into our future summit toward the end of the fall semester. We always like to say we're beginning with the end in mind. And so you see some of your graduates here. You know, this is really what it's all about, right? It's about changing lives and making sure we're creating the optimal institution, you know, that contributes to the community that you serve and those stakeholders. And so at this time, you know, I'd really like to open the floor for any questions that you may have for us. You also have some more detailed bios from Kevin and Samantha that we included in the materials that we sent to you as well. Thank you, Nanette.
Questions, trustees? Just as a reminder, Trustee Sposito, Betty, she's going to be our liaison with this entire process, really kind of helping us, keeping each other informed. We'll also be using the internal and external committee that Trustee McDonald, co-chair of executive committee, runs as a way for us to get updates out there to the community. So really looking forward to this. Javon, this is much needed. So really appreciate you and your team jumping in once again so quickly. And we look forward to a very busy year looking at your timeline and a lot of work to be done in the school year. So really appreciative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just have to say your committee and your leaders, Shay, Dan, and Eileen are doing amazing work so far. And I'm really excited about the way this process is looking for the group. Everyone is very excited to get it done and move forward quickly.
Absolutely. It goes without saying of all the hard work that our administrators and the entire college participate. So really, thank you so much.
Just a couple of final notes for the trustees. Again, you get a sense from the group assembled from CampusWorks. We are very, very pleased with where we landed with our consultancy. Really looking forward to the work ahead. Javon, thank you for sharing and introducing tonight. We are definitely building momentum. The timing is good, everyone, for us to be strategically planning and to amplify some of the things we've talked about previously. This document, this plan, this set of priorities and strategies will come before you as trustees for your endorsement. It is a policy endeavor at the end of the day. And then with your endorsement, it will go in front of the Board of Higher Education for Massachusetts. So this is obviously very important work for all of us. But again, the timing is great. We're encouraged that external outside-in look that I think a number of trustees have been seeking will come through this process. Part and parcel, we just received a first draft from a company called MC Burning Glass. They actually have a new name as a company, but they gave us a labor market analysis that essentially also helps map programmatically where is STCC now, where will we need to be in the future, what are the trends, how well do we align? So we'll have that perspective to be folding into this process as well. So again, we're well on our way.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Cook. Appreciative. Transitioning right into my report, wanted to talk now about our presidential evaluation, just to give everyone that process and how we got to where we are today. As you recall, last year, we were required by the Department of Higher Education to provide a 5-year analysis of Dr. Cook. We did engage ACCT with that, and that report was submitted last year and approved by the board. So this year, what we did, we convened the executive committee, myself, Trustee Stcc, and Trustee McDonald, to come up with a process for this year's evaluation of Dr. Cook for the school year of 2021 to 2022. We decided as an executive team is to send out basically an Excel to solicit feedback from every single trustee based on major silos and major impacts that Dr. Cook handled this year. And then the trustees, Betty, myself, and Janae, spoke to every single individual trustee to once again have guided conversations about Dr. Cook's evaluation and performance in the last school year. You will see in your packet a culmination of those conversations that occurred in the documentation that came in with trustees. And you will also see Dr. Cook's self-assessment, which is in the packet that was sent to all trustees. So at this moment, I just want to pause and see if there's any questions or feedback or comment of the process and the information, the documentation that you have in your packet.
Mary Kate, this is Betty. I'd just like to make one comment that with the process that we utilized for this year, I felt it was beneficial not only for the evaluation, but for myself to be able to talk to three other trustees, one-on-one, and to gain a perspective and to gain a more global, what do you think? And I felt it went very well.
It's a great point, Betty, really, and appreciate all the hard work that you and Janae put forth. I know you're all very, very busy, and all the trustees, and really appreciate the time because this is important as we continue to work with Dr. Cook. There's a lot of work ahead and a lot of successes. And I see the horizon in the future for Springfield Technical Community College, one of incredible forward thinking and goals and aspirations. So really looking forward to that. And so thank you, Betty. I appreciate that. Anything else, additional trustees? Hearing none. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please, Janae.
I just wanted to thank you for putting together this summary and be able to comprise Betty's notes, my notes, and then the individual responses from trustees. You did an excellent job with that, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Hearing none, would someone like to read the motion, the 2021-2022 Presidential Evaluation Motion 2022-15?
I will. Betty? Motion 2022-15, move that the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees approves the 2021-2022 presidential evaluation as discussed, consistent with the Commonwealth's open meeting law, OMI, requirements, MGL C30A SS 18-25, and the Attorney General's regulations, educational materials, and advisories.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Nanette, would you please call the roll for the 2021-2022 Presidential Evaluation Motion 2022-15?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Elizabeth Bosito,
Yes.
Monique Seldom Riley,
Yes.
Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Samalid Hogan, Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Norm Roldan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Again, trustees, thank you so much for making this a priority. As you do recall, every community college got a little bit of a delay, extending their deadline. Really, really excited that we have this done so soon. Next steps will be for me to submit this to the Department of Higher Education to make sure it is put forth. And Dr. Cook, correct me, we have not selected another commissioner to date.
No, for our trustees, Commissioner Carlos Santiago is retiring. And he will essentially sort of remain in holdover status until that new hire is made. The Board of Higher Education actually hires the commissioner. Some people might assume it is the governor who makes that appointment, but it is the Board of Higher Ed. The board is searching right now, and they, similarly to what we all know, have stood up a broadly inclusive committee to manage that process. And so, again, I would assume the way that there's this two-step where this board handles my evaluation and submit it to the commissioner. Commissioner meets with me as well. That Commissioner Santiago will play that role for this year as well.
Okay, great. And then as we probably start the new school year, there might be another commissioner in place, but as Dr. Marti has mentioned earlier, things take a little bit longer in higher ed. So we'll see how that all transpires. The next is really just a huge appreciation and thanks to our student trustee, Monique. You were able to balance home, school, and this board. And there aren't really words to express my gratitude and the gratitude of the entire board in saying thank you. Representing the students is really the most important thing, I believe, on this board. And I just wanted to say thank you and give an opportunity the rest of the trustees to say thank you and wish you nothing but good luck and the best as you move on to bigger and better things. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you, Monique.
No problem.
Thank you. No problem.
Thank you guys for.
Thank you and good luck.
Yeah, thank you guys for accepting me and all of that. It's definitely been a learning process, and I appreciate being able to work alongside you guys.
The pleasure was all ours, Monique, and we wish you nothing but the best. No, come back and see us. Please come back. Come back
Definitely.
to say hello to us. So thank you so much.
Definitely.
And then with that, everybody, I'd like to formally introduce our recently selected student trustee, Geraldsped Garcia Figueroa. Will join us, and she will be at our first trustee meeting, which would be in September 23rd during our board retreat. We hope to have our new student trustees, so really excited about that.
And she had hoped to be here with us, everyone, tonight. Unfortunately, something came up, but Nanette will assure all of you she is ready to go, fully committed and invested in, and we'll make this handoff. So we're looking forward to her joining the board.
Great, really excited to work with another incredible young student. Dr. Cook, I think it's your turn for your perspective.
Another year in the books, everyone, another Zoom meeting. It's amazing to sort of use this time to take stock. I'll be brief, I promise. But let me start with some thanks as well to Trustee Selden Riley, who was dynamic and incredible at commencement, everyone. It was wonderful, Monique, with all the time we spent on Zoom, to have you there in person to light up the crowd there at the Mass Mutual Center. You really do set the bar, and we are thrilled for what the future holds for you. So my congratulations and thank you for a great year.
Thank you.
To the leadership team, again, diligently, you have cabinet members, trustees who have joined us for each of these meetings. They have been an absolute rock all year. I'm grateful to them, one and all. There's a lot of tremendous thinking in addition to the work that goes along with this. And again, to a person, they really make a great team, everyone. And we have every reason to be proud of our leadership here at the college. To you, trustees, thank you for the positive notes, for the encouragement in your evaluation. Again, I'm grateful for your kind words and for everything constructive that you placed in there. It really was a great year. And again, that's part of what I want to just take a little bit of stock of. Your commitment, your investment in capital work really helped cinch this together for the Building 20, the School of Health relocation. That is a hugely significant future project for us. I think there are many, again, across the college, faculty and staff, who are still a little stunned that we have come through on this. Notwithstanding COVID and the way this college has adapted and evolved, that's a really big deal for us. And when you combine that with the clarity you provided tonight with your vote of the governance structure, that makes a huge difference. With the future vote on the new and refreshed strategic plan for the college, that's significant. So we really are moving in a tremendous direction. Again, I have every reason to be so encouraged and optimistic about the work we do as a community college. That mission is just as necessary now as it was before the pandemic, as it was when I started 6 years ago. So I'm very grateful to all of you. A little note, it is about perspective. So here's the look ahead, and I'll be real modest because those are big things that we have moving along, which are really important. We've got some great summer projects going. We will be abating the lead and arsenic in the green. That's a really big deal that will help us better utilize green space on campus. So I'm looking forward to that. Enrollment management, as much as the college sort of eases up in terms of the volume of teaching and learning that we do, and we definitely still have classes on campus this summer. Administrators still working this summer for sure. Faculty still teaching, advising, but enrollment management, this is where we start to really build 50% of what we expect in enrollment comes right after this weekend. So we're absolutely looking at that. And again, the perspective for all of you is we are running level with where we were last year. That is very good. From a budget standpoint, again, we work closely with Ways and Means. We projected conservatively to be down in enrollment 6 percent this year. So when we're running even, that means we're doing very well. And new students are up. New students are up. So we're actually lagging with our continuing students. And again, we're working the retention piece when I say enrollment, not just the recruitment piece. But it's good news because if we are building back, to have a larger incoming group of students this year means we can capitalize on that next year and the next year and the next year as we try to build to sustainability. So again, from an enrollment standpoint, we're doing really well. Last note, and well, let me say, and so what are the programs that are up? Engineering transfer is up from this time last year. Our HVAC and energy systems program is up. Applied psychology is up. Medical assisting is up. All these health STEM areas that you want STCC to be in, we're in, and we're seeing some enrollment rebounds in those types of programs. So really encouraged. I'm glad I can share that. Last thing was down at Union Station. Again, we don't really have formal news to share around cybersecurity and a cybersecurity center, but we are really moving diligently in our conversations with a number of partners, including the Mass Tech Collaborative, on a role to play with a cybersecurity center. I wish I could share more now, but I want to say, again, you saw some mention of this in my self-assessment. This college is in all of the conversations that you want us to be, really helping with that workforce, community and economic development aspect that we are ready to prepare and contribute towards. So really looking to the work ahead. We're going to have a steady summer, everybody. Looking forward already to having you back in September, but that's where we are. And again, I can't thank you all enough for the year.
Who thinks it's crazy, right? That it's almost July. It goes so quickly, right, everyone? Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Cook. Is there old business? Don't believe so. Any new business from our trustees or anyone? Hearing none, this is our last meeting for the summer. We do have our board retreat scheduled for Friday, September 23rd from 9 to 2. And I think Nanette has already kind of put that as a hold on your calendar. Dr. Cook and I will be working and with the executive committee over the summer, just on that agenda and firming that up. So really looking forward to that. So that is it for this meeting. Before I ask for a motion, really thank you all for another incredible school year. Some huge wins with Building 20. That just means there's a lot more work. But this is really kind of the exciting part. The renovation and build and getting new students and moving some of our programs. So that's the exciting part. Thank you everyone for all your hard work. Have a wonderful summer, but please be safe. And then reach out to myself, the executive committee, or Dr. Cook if you have any questions. Again, thank you so much. And with that, do I hear a motion to end the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustee regular meeting of Monday, June 27, 2022?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Great. Nanette, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald,
Yes.
Elizabeth Bosito,
Yes.
Monique Seldom Riley,
Yes.
Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Samalid Hogan, Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Noam Roldan,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Great. Thank you,
all.
everyone. Nanette, thank you for all of your hard work. Really appreciate it. And have everyone a good night and a good week.